4p. Yes, 4p. That's the difference that the Treasury believes is the difference in the cost between riding a motorcycle 1 mile for business and riding a push bike 1 mile for work. So a motorcycle with an engine, with fuel costs, with insurance costs, with an MOT, all the running costs that go into riding a motorcycle, apparently there's only 4p difference per mile between that and a push bike. So there's this thing called the approved mileage allowance payment. Now this is the amount of money that your employer can reimburse you for using your own vehicle for work purposes without you being taxed on that benefit. You can think of it as the government's answer to the question of what does a mile of business travel actually cost? For cars, the Chancellor's answer is that cost is 55p per mile, and this figure was recently increased just in April of this year. For motorcycles, back in 2002 it was set at 24p, and it's remained at that level ever since for 24 years. Now while we're on the subject of tax, I've just had to pay my vehicle excise duty. It felt quite appropriate timing because this is another chapter in the same story. Riders are paying into a system on exactly the same terms as car drivers, while getting treated as a lesser category when the money comes back the other way. In 2013, an individual sent a Freedom of Information request to the Treasury to find out exactly what the methodology was for determining the motorcycle allowance. The answer that came back in that FOI request was that there was no set formula for working this out. There was no calculation, it's basically just a policy decision, which they said was based on, and I'm quoting here, the costs of motoring per business mile. So that's their own stated criteria for working this out. Now we all know that since 2002, when these allowances were first set for motorcycles at 24p, the cost of fuel has actually probably doubled. We know that the cost of insurance has gone up. We know that the cost of tyres has gone up. Everything to do with motorcycling cost-wise has gone up, just as it has for cars. But for motorcycles, the allowance has remained static since 2002. So this week I've written to the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, and asked her specifically and formally to increase the motorcycle allowance from its current 24p to at least 45p. Now that is just the inflation adjustment applied to the 24p from 2002. So that's not an ambitious ask, it's totally reasonable, and it is only the first step. Now we asked riders on our Facebook pages whether or not we should stay quiet on this issue. The response came through quite loud and clear that we should certainly not stay quiet. And so this is, as I say, just the first step in this process, an ongoing campaign, and we will not be staying quiet about this issue. I've written a blog post about this. You can see it on the MAG website. I do recommend that you read that. It's got all the details, a lot more information, and the figures, everything is there. It's well worth the read. The link will be in the description below. So what comes next? As I said, this first letter is purely an opening move. It is not the end, and there will be more work that can be done. And there will be a role for you as a motorcyclist to play in this campaign. So do keep your eyes open for more information. Make sure you don't miss it by subscribing to this channel and hitting the notification bell so that you see any forthcoming videos. Now of course, this kind of campaigning work is the kind of thing that MAG membership funds. So if you're not already a MAG member, it would really help us if you could become a member to help fund this work. As I've said, there's a link in the description to a blog post about this subject where you can find out a lot more detail, and it's well worth the read. So I look forward to speaking to you again in the next video.